Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to do another Scottish beer, and in fact this is the first time I'm reviewing a beer that is solely this brewery's product, if you like. The only other beer I did from them was a collaboration, so we are going to go to Tempest Brewing Company, who are based between Kelso and Galashiels in the Scottish Borders region, and we're going to have a taste of the Brave New World, which is an IPA, and this beer has very good ratings on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, so I'm really quite excited to try this one for you today. The only other beer I've reviewed from these guys was actually a collaboration one called Marmalade on Toast, and that was brewed in collaboration with the Edinburgh Brewdog Bar. They went down to Tempest and brewed this beer, and it really was beautiful. But when I did that, they had their beers in the old half-litre bottles that had the white labels with the kind of greyish Tempest logo on it, and they were all sort of hand tight-riped, if you like, so they were quite cool. But they seem to have reverted to the 330s now, and they've got this kind of cool new label design, which I think is actually really quite snazzy, if you like. So quite exciting times ahead for the Tempest Brewery, I'm sure. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a very kind of brief history of the brewery. It will only be a minute or two long, but if you want to get straight to the tasting, feel free to fast forward. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, along with a link that will take you to my other Tempest beer reviews. That will take you and let you see the Brewdog one as well, and I'm sure there will be many more added to that in the very near future, because these guys, from what I hear, are producing some very, very nice beer. So anyway, as I told you, the brewery are based in Kelso in the Scottish Borders region, although they do brew their beer in Galashiels. But the company was founded in 2010 by Gavin Meikle-John, who is Scottish, and his wife Anika, who is actually Kiwi. But Gavin had trained as a chef in New Zealand, but he returned to Scotland with Anika in 2007, and they now run the Cobbles Bar in Kelso, as I say, in the Scottish Borders region. We're just talking about to the south of Edinburgh here, a bit on the monster's neck, as I always describe it. I always describe Scotland as looking a bit like a monster's head. But anyway, Gavin had previously worked for the Whistler Brewing Company in BC in Canada, and he'd had an appreciation for craft beer for a very long time, and it was in fact his dream to have his own craft brewery, if you like. So he actually went and did some training courses in Sydney, and he did homebrew in his garage in Wellington, New Zealand for a period of time. He had a 50-litre brew kit, and as you'll know if you've seen my New Zealand series of beer reviews that I did when I visited there, the quality of beer in New Zealand is excellent. So if this brewery is inspired by the New Zealand beer scene and also by the American and North American beer scene, I should say, they will be producing some really, really excellent beers. And it's quite cool to see another Scottish brewery doing very, very well. But at the brewery, Gavin is also joined by Alan Rice, who acts as the business development manager, and he'd previously worked for the Stewart's Brewery in Edinburgh, who incidentally produce some very, very nice beers as well. But the brewery was previously housed in the old dairy buildings in Kelso, and it was largely homemade equipment they had there, and the idea was to produce like really big flavoured beers on a kind of shoestring budget, and they did it very well. As I said to you, the collaboration beer I did before would have been produced there, and it was excellent, the taste, and it was really, really good. But recently their beers proved very, very popular, so they decided they needed to moved to a new facility, and they're now at their bigger home in the Tweedbank industrial estate in Galashiels, and they now have a brewing capacity of 32 hectolitres, so a pretty impressive facility, I have to say. But they use hops from the UK, Germany, New Zealand and also North America, and they've got a wide variety of yeast strains for all the different types of beers that they do. But they point out on their website as well that they do like to use the Golden Promise malt, and this is produced very locally to them. In fact, it's actually grown in Kelso, and then it's treated at the Simpsons Malt House, if you like, in Berwick-upon-Tweed, which is actually a Scottish town, but it's just over the border in English. The people there are actually Scottish, so it's quite cool that when you try these guys you're getting a sort of really kind of American New Zealand style beer, but it does have a little hint of Scottishness in it as well. So pretty cool brewery in fact, and as I say, I heard this brewery has some very, very good beers, so hopefully this is the first of many that I review for you on here. Just to list a few of the other beers you can get from these guys, you obviously get this guy, the Brave New World, which is an IPA. You have the Easy Living Pils beer, obviously a Pilsner style. You have the Elemental, which is a porter. In the Dark We Live, which is a black IPA. Long White Cloud, which is an extra pale ale. Red Eye Flight, which is a mocha porter. They have the Pale Armadillo, which is a pale ale, and they have Unforgiven Red Rye as well, which is a smoky red beer. But I'm sure they've got some other ones as well. I'm sure I've seen stouts and things from them at some point. But without further ado, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. Let me just see. So this guy is a 7% IPA. Apparently it uses North American hops. It tells you the ingredients and stuff that go on the side to this one. So you've got Golden Promise, Vienna and Cara malts in here, and it just says North American hops. It doesn't tell you the exact variety that go into it. But as you can see, the label is quite snazzy. It also says on the side, embark on a voyage of discovery, pioneering local barley balances a long maturation with North American hops. Bittersweet yet rounded, complex but consistently satisfying. Welcome to a brave new world. And this was set, they say to enjoy this by the 14th of April 2016, so I've got just under a year to drink it, but it's going to meet my belly today, which is obviously good. So it's a 7% IPA. You can see the bottle there, it looks really nice. I'm not sure, this is the old symbol that they used to have on their old labels, and it still is the symbol of the brewery, but they've obviously just jazzed it up a little bit. And there you can see the Tempest bottle cap. All of these ones are different colours depending on what trim they have on the label. They had quite a few of these. I bought this from Valhalla Goat in Glasgow, which has a good little selection of their beers. So without further ado, let's get on with the tasting of this guy. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening there. You can smell the fruit off this actually as you bring it out, and that's without even paying too much attention to the aroma. Just sugar it up and try and get a little bit more of a head on it. And there you are. It's poured very nicely, I have to say. As I told you, there's a little bit of a fruit aroma comes off this without even paying too much attention to it. So let me just bring up the light and let you see the colour of this beer properly. So as you can see, it's poured a nice kind of quite bright sort of fiery orangey colour actually. That's probably a good way to describe it. If I put my fingers behind it, it is actually quite hazy. You can see through to the other side of the glass, but it's not really that transparent. But it looks very nice. There's a little bit of sediment in the bottle, which is what you expect from some of the IPAs. There was just about a third or a half finger of a frothy white head there, and that is just fading away to be a very kind of thin foamy layer now. But it looks a very nice beer. There is a little bit of carbonation visible, just some bubbles going up towards the bottom of the head there, but it looks very nice. So without further ado, let's have a little look at the aroma of this guy. So it's a very tropical aroma you're getting from this. Mainly tropical fruits in there, but it's quite interesting actually. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Some kind of passion fruit, I want to say the passion fruit is a little bit more, is the most kind of prominent thing, but you can detect a little bit of the kind of more sour aroma that you get from grapefruit in there. There's maybe a little bit of peaches too, just a little bit of sharper peach. But there's a good tropical nose to this anyway, that's the main point. And I want to say there's some orangey kind of citrus in there too. You can smell the sort of juicy orangey citrus. But there's a bit of pine resin underlying in there too, but it's quite mild in comparison to some kind of American IPA style beers that you'll get. But there's a bit of grassiness and aromatic to the hops as well. It is a hop forward aroma, I should point out. But if you take it in a little bit more deeply, if you sort of smell it just in this kind of manner, if you like, you'll get a little bit more of the kind of malt base. So I want to say there's a kind of sweet caramel under there, but you can also pick up the paler bread and slightly biscuity aroma that you'll get out of there, and that is because of the vanilla, the Vienna malt that's in there actually. But it's a very nice and full smelling IPA, I should say. So it smells really good. So without further ado, let's crack into this guy. This is the Brave New World American Style IPA from Tempest Brewing Company in Kelso or Galashiels in the Scottish Borders region. Slàinte. Now that's really nice. Everything you would expect of an American Style IPA. So you've got a nice big bitter tropical fruit flavour in there, as you would expect from the aroma. The hop flavours are going right around the edge of the tongue, as you always get with this style of beer. So on the edge of the palate, particularly at the front, you're getting this really kind of dry mouthfeel. So you've got a lot of big grapefruit in there. The passion fruit is coming out as well, but I want to actually say that the grapefruit is the bigger flavour in that kind of fruity front of the beer, if you like. But there is grapefruit and there is passion fruit in there. You can pick up just a little bit of the peach too, but it is mainly the passion fruit and the grapefruit that are fighting to be at the front of this beer. I want to say there is perhaps a little bit, sorry I'm getting trouble with my nose, there's a little bit of mango in there as well, I want to say, but it is very, very subtle, I think. But it is really mainly a kind of piney resin flavour. The piney resins and the more aromatic character are coming out a little bit further back than the nice passion fruit and grapefruit there, but there's a piney resin flavour that just underlies, kind of underpins all of that, and then you've got the grassy and slightly aromatic-y hops coming out just as you move round the corners of the tongue there. And towards the back, it is more of the kind of the grassy and aromatic-y flavours that are coming out there. So it's quite interesting, very kind of pine resin-y flavour that's underpinning this one, and then you've got the fruits on top of it, some nice kind of sourish grapefruit that's probably the more prominent one. I think there's a little bit of mango in there, but I might be imagining things. But there is definitely grapefruit in there. It's a nice big sour grapefruit flavoured hop you're getting from this. Yeah, there's not so much of an orangey flavour in this one, which I thought there would be from the aroma. It did actually smell of a quite juicy orange. It's more of a, as I say, a kind of pine resiny one, and then tropical fruits on top of that. In terms of the malt base kind of blankets the middle of the palate, as I always say, but this is actually quite an interesting one because the malt base is quite mild. I'm getting mainly a sort of kind of light bready malt base off this one. There's not too much in the way of a kind of caramel sweetness, I think. Yeah, I want to say there's just a little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness coming out of this one, but it is mainly a kind of caramel. No, so not a caramel, mainly a kind of bready, light bready malt that you're getting in this. It's a Vienna malt base, as you would expect, because that's what's in it. It's very kind of mild bready, little bit of biscuity sweetness, which is typical of the Vienna malts that go in there. It almost tastes like the malt base that goes into a Pils beer, and then you've got this really, really hoppy character that goes around it. So it's almost like it's got a kind of Vienna Pils malt base to it, with just a little bit of biscuity sweetness in there, maybe a little bit of caramel as well, but mainly a lighter malt base on this one. But in terms of the flavour, you can't really fault it in the slightest. It's beautifully, beautifully done. If you like an IPA that has this big kind of pine resin underpinning with some tropical fruits on the top, it's really nice, and it does have a few kind of more subtle notes in it, as I say, just a teeny bit of orange and maybe some mangoes as well, and there is a little bit of sharper peach that comes out, particularly in the aftertaste, I think, and the aftertaste really is the pine resins and a little bit of the grapefruit, I think, that's just sitting around the edge of the palate, and then the more mild kind of slightly bready malt base from the Vienna malts there. So overall the flavour is really, really beautiful. In terms of the mouthfeel, I'd say it's quite mid-bodied. It's got a nice smooth carbonation actually. It's not prickly in comparison to some of the other IPAs that you can get, but it's slightly oily at the same time. Because you can just feel it come forward. The fruit flavours you get, where I think the kind of orangey flavours and peachy and slightly mango flavours are coming out, you get this little oily bubble that moves towards the front of your tongue, just behind the kind of the front curve, if you like. You just feel this little oily character build through, and that's where the kind of citrusy fruits, I think, are coming out. But I think it's more of a kind of tropical fruit and sort of piney flavour that's coming out of this one. But in terms of that, it's quite a mild malt base, as I said, but it's big and bitter, this beer. The main thing in the aftertaste of this one is the nice big dry and bitter character, but it does have just a little bit of sweetness in the malt base. But as I said, I think it's a kind of pilsy malt base that this beer has in the middle, so it's quite interesting in that regard. It's got a little quirk to it. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been really cool to actually visit a Tempest beer once again and do one that is solely theirs. It's a really, really good IPA, and I can really see why it has such high ratings on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. So what I would say to you is, if you enjoy an IPA that is quite pine resiny and has a good bit of tropical fruit with a few more kind of more subtle flavours in there, then this is definitely one to go for. And the malt base, as I say, is quite interesting on this one because it does have a kind of uniquely Scottish malt in it, but I think this one is interesting in particular because to me it actually tastes like it's a bit more of a kind of Pils malt base that's on this, so it does have a little quirk in that way. But I hope you've enjoyed this beer review nonetheless. As always, let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer. Go and check out the Tempest Brewing Company because they are producing some really, really awesome beers, and I'll thank you again for watching, and please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I hope you'll join me again for some more beer reviews, which will be coming up shortly. Slàinte!